Hello neighbors, it's Brad here from eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on a 2025 Subaru Outback. If you're thinking about adding a hitch to your Outback, I think it's a fantastic idea. Being that it's a wagon and you have a little bit of ground clearance means that this is really built for adventures or just taking accessories around with you. And having roof rails already on it, adding that hitch is just one more spot that you can put more real estate, whether it be a bike rack, cargo carrier, or even if you're planning on pulling a small trailer. And this one is a really clean look. The installation is a little bit more extensive than just a bolt up, but the result ends up being super clean. So everything is going to be completely hidden except for our 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, which is really nice because that's kind of the standard size when it comes to trailer hitch receivers. And that just means there's going to be plenty of options when it comes to bike racks, cargo carriers, or even ball mounts. Looking at it real close, you can see how clean this fits. So overall, a really nice look. Now, when you're getting those accessories in place, a 5/8 pin and clip is going to be required to hold those in. Now, I will say the hitch does not come with that pin and clip, but when you pick up accessories, many times they're going to have those included. Something I would recommend is if you plan on leaving that cargo carrier, bike rack, or ball mount on here long term, picking up a locking pin and clip is a good deterrent, and that way people aren't just going to pull off that pin and clip and take that accessory with them. Safety chain loops are a rolled style, nice and open, so if you're planning on pulling that trailer, you can hook up a standard S-hook or even a larger clevis style to get those safety chains hooked up. Now, speaking of towing, you're going to want to adhere to the weight capacities not only of the hitch, but also what your vehicle is rated to tow. And the hitch is rated fairly well. You have a gross trailer weight rating of 3,500 pounds, which is the weight of the trailer, plus the accessories loaded onto it. You can also get a pretty high tongue weight with this, being that it's 350 pounds, and that's the downward pressure on the inside of the receiver tube opening, and that's really going to account for a lot of your suspended accessories. So that means a 4-bike bike rack, you could load that up depending on the weight of those bikes and still be okay, or a cargo carrier. Especially with an aluminum one, you could really load that thing up. As long as you're not over that 350 pounds, you'll be good to go. But again, keep in mind, just because the hitch is rated for something doesn't mean that the vehicle is. So especially when it comes to towing, make sure you check the vehicle and stay within those limits. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the furthest point, we're looking at 2 inches. So what does that mean for you? A folding bike rack or cargo carrier will go in a vertical position, and not all vehicle and hitch combos allow for that because of the protruding bumper. I have zero worries that you're going to have issues with that on this vehicle. Now keep in mind, when they are in that vertical position, you will probably have to lower those down for you to open up the rear hatch, and they can also block your camera as well as some of your lights and license plates, but just something to keep in mind when you have those in that stowed position. Now, as far as ground clearance goes, this, as I mentioned, has a pretty high ground clearance as far as a vehicle, and the hitch is no different. You have 15 inches of ground clearance, which is really good for those suspended accessories, but you do want to keep in mind it's going to extend the length of the vehicle, so if you're going up a steep incline, those can bottom out. But more times than not, the measurement is going to be important for choosing a ball mount. And the best way to tow is going to have a level combo of car and trailer. So measure your trailer from the ground to the top of the coupler when you have it fully level, and then take that number and compare it with the 15 inches. And based on the math, you can determine the rise or drop necessary to get everything going down the road safely. The hitch may seem like a great idea, but sometimes the installation can stray people away from getting it installed. And I'm here to tell you that, yes, this is a little bit more difficult than some of the other bolt-up ones, but that's how you get that super clean look. So I think it's totally worth it to do a slightly more difficult installation to get a clean look for the rest of the lifespan of the vehicle. And when I say difficult, I kind of hesitate to say that. Generally, they're going to be rated higher based on just having to pull off a rear fascia, but not all vehicles are created the same. This is actually a really easy fascia to pop off. You might want an extra set of hands, as things can get pretty cumbersome getting the fascia taken off, but really once you take off the plastic clips, pull off the fascia, you're going to take your bumper beam off with just a few bolts, hitch will slide in, and then you bolt up your bumper beam again, and then everything goes back. Now there is a little bit of trimming required just to open up for this receiver tube opening to fit, but it's very minor and really you won't be able to see where you cut. So again, don't let the difficulty on this one scare you off. You don't have to be mechanically inclined to get this installed. And simple basic hand tools will get you there. You will need a torque wrench, but beyond that, pretty simple. But if you don't have a place to do it, the tools to do it, the want to do it, I totally get it. I still want you to get a hitch on your vehicle. So the best thing you can do is reach out using our dealer locator and find someone close to you to get this hitch installed so you can go out there and start enjoying the adventures that you go on. For you DIYers, stick around. Let's get this hitch installed. To begin our installation, we're going to go underneath the fascia, and we have a plastic trim panel tool. Now this is going to really help getting these plastic push pins off, but if you don't have one, you can pick one up here at eTrailer or just use a flathead screwdriver. I would recommend having a nice organized spot to keep all your hardware to make reinstallation a lot easier. With that being said, the plastic push pins that we're going to be removing, we're going to go along the whole bottom edge here and get all of these taken out, and then there's going to be some on the wheel wells, but let's get these ones first. And to get these popped off, there's going to be grooves on multiple sides of this, and if you just wedge in between there and get that center portion to pop out, the whole thing should come with it. Sometimes that center part will come out and then you can pull this portion out, but as long as you have both pieces, you'll be able to get that removed. And if they do crack on you, don't be surprised. Plastic push pins a lot of times will crack during this process, but if you take your time and use the right tools, you should be able to salvage them. The two that are where this lower center section meets the black plastic, those are just kind of holding it all together, but it's not actually holding the fascia back from a mounting point to be able to take that off. So if you want, you can leave those in, and we'll just continue on with the rest of the plastic push pins. On our wheel well trim, we'll find that we have 3 plastic push pins. We're going to get those removed, and we're going to repeat that on the other side. As we are going to be pulling off this rear fascia, you want to make sure you have a nice clean spot that's not going to cause damage to your fascia to rest it once we pull it off. But before we pull it off, what I like to do is put painter's tape along the seam on the rear quarter panel and the fascia, and that way as it rubs against each other, it's not going to cause damage or chips or scratches in the interim, and this is a nice easy way to prevent that. We're going to get our fascia popped off, and I recommend having an extra set of hands because it's going to get pretty cumbersome. So to prevent chips and scratches as you're taking the fascia off, having that extra set of hands is really nice. But also, a lot of times you're going to have electrical connections that are attached to the fascia. So it's nice to have that person be able to support it while you get those undone. And to get this started, you're going to just reach back where we remove those plastic push pins, and we're just going to start pulling back. And it's just a series of clips along here. So just keep pressure as you kind of work your way back. And this is all going to pop out too. Now it all snaps in here. Some of these Subarus can be a little bit tight when it comes to this portion, but as long as you pull straight out, just kind of wiggle it back and forth, we should get this to pop out like that. And now we can see where our electrical connections are. We have one that's attached here on our driver's side, and depending on your trim, you may have additional ones. To separate this, we'll just push on this plug, get that pulled back, and then we can set our fascia aside. We're going to be removing our bumper beam because the hitch is going to slide into the slots where this is bolted up. So we're going to unplug our connection here on the bumper beam, and we'll just push this tab, pull that out. And if you look, we have a bolt here, a bolt here, and then a nut that's through here. So all of these holes will give you a direct shot to those. You are going to probably want an extension to get these. So I'm going to get these all removed, and what I recommend doing is on the nut, get it loose, but leave a few threads on one side so that way when you're removing the other side, it's not going to fall down on you. But at this point, we'll just get our hardware taken off and then get our bumper beam set aside. Now we'll set this aside. We are going to be reinstalling it later, so just keep it close by. But now we can grab our hitch and slide it in. And this should sit pretty well flush or close to it. For just safety's sake, so it doesn't move on us, I'm going to just reinstall the nuts lightly on both sides, and that'll keep that in place for us. Now underneath on the frame rail, you're going to find there's going to be a rubber plug right here, and we're going to have that on both sides. We want to pry that out because we're going to be dropping in our carriage bolt to bolt that in. So once you have that popped out, we'll take the coiled end and we'll feed this through and back out here. We'll then take our carriage bolt, thread this on, and then pull this back through. And you may need to shift the hitch around a little bit, but once you get this to pull through, you can then uncoil your pull wire and then take a serrated flange nut and get that started. We're going to repeat the same process on the other side. On the driver's side, to get that hardware in, it's a little bit tighter. You can still do it, but at some point we're going to need to torque down this hardware and pretty shortly here. So to make it easier, you can pop off the exhaust from the isolator, and it's pretty easily accessible. So if you need to, you can use a pry bar. A little soapy water goes a long way, and you should be able to just kind of pull this off. The top one's going to be the ticket. So we'll just get that pulled down. And there is another isolator that's going to be tucked back here, so we can get that popped off as well. Those carriage bolts in place, our hitch isn't going to move, so we'll take the nuts off, and then we're going to grab our bumper beam and keep those nuts handy because we're going to put those on directly after raising up that bumper beam. Now, instead of using those previous bolts that we had, we're going to be using our new ones, and a conical tooth washer is going to go in place. So make sure that those teeth are facing up, and that way they bite into the hitch. And I'm just going to get these all loosely started. And you may, again, you need to possibly move this around to get it to all aligned, but as you start to get the hardware in place, it should make it a lot easier to get everything aligned. So all of the remaining holes, we'll put our new hardware in place. Once you get all of them started by hand, we can start to snug everything down, including the ones on the bottom. So the bolts that we passed in, those are going to be a 17mm socket. You don't need to get crazy here because we're going to come back with a torque wrench immediately after to get them all properly torqued down. But now's a good time. Your hitch should be pretty well aligned. Just make sure that you have it centered exactly where you want, and then we'll get these all snug. Come back with your torque wrench and we'll torque down the hardware based on the specifications in the instruction manual. Now, keep in mind that this hardware is metric. Your carriage bolts in the nut down there is standard, and it does change a little bit as far as torque settings, so just adjust accordingly. Now, if you need a torque wrench, we have them available here at eTrailer, but for a job like this, you can really just go to an auto parts store and rent one for free, get this all torqued down, and then you'll be good to go. But this is an important step. Because we're using factory weld nuts, it's really important to make sure that we don't overdo it, because we can damage that and just make it not a good, basically solid mounting point for the hitch, but also you don't want it too loose for obvious reasons. Our hitch is officially installed, but before we get our fascia put back, we do need to do a little bit of trimming. It is a minor amount. I've taped it up. There's measurements in the instruction manual, but this is going to allow for that hitch to slide right in place here. As far as cutting, you can really use a lot of different methods. If you really wanted to, you could use a utility knife, a Dremel, whatever you have handy. If you have a multi-tool, I found that these do a really good job, especially getting those nice square cuts. So we'll get this notched out. Once you have that cut out, you may or may not have some burrs here. So if you want to, you can take a file, or even just like the back side of a hard surface like a knife, you can just drag that along. That should pull all those off. But We'll make sure that this fits up, but at this point we're ready to put the fascia back on, and it's gonna be just the reverse order that we took everything off. So again, you may want that extra set of hands to do that, but make sure you get your electrical connections put back on, including the one on the bumper beam. Now, hopefully this video helped you get your hitch installed on your Outback, and once you have it installed, send us some pictures. Let us know how it went, if you have any tips or tricks, or just show us the combo of what you're putting into the receiver. We love to see neighbors out there really taking on the adventures of life, and we love to help you along that journey. So we love to see what you guys have to say, and with that being said, my name's Brad. Thanks for watching the install of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on a 2025 Subaru Outback.